the untold history of royal women's daily life. It's 4 a.m. in a grand medieval castle. While the world sleeps, a queen is already awake, but not by choice. What you're about to discover will shatter everything you thought you knew about royal women's lives. This isn't the fairy tale you were told as a child. Behind the golden crowns and silk gowns lay a reality so shocking, so utterly different from our modern imagination, that historians have spent centuries trying to uncover the truth. Today, we're pulling back the velvet curtain on the most powerful women in history and revealing the jaw-dropping secrets of their daily existence. Forget everything Disney taught you about princesses. The real story is darker, more dangerous, and absolutely mind-blowing. These women weren't living in luxury. They were surviving in golden prisons where one wrong move could mean death. Imagine being Marie Antoinette at Versailles in 1780. You might think she wakes up in luxury, stretching lazily in silk sheets. Wrong. Dead wrong. At exactly 4:30 a.m., dozens of servants storm into the royal bedchamber. But here's the twist that will blow your mind. They can't just help her get dressed. There's a rigid hierarchy so complex it would make your head spin. The Duchess of highest rank must hand her the chemise. But what if she's late? Everyone waits. The Queen of France, the most powerful woman in the country, stands there completely naked while servants debate who has the right to dress her. One morning, Marie Antoinette nearly froze to death because 3 duchesses couldn't agree on protocol. Think about that. The woman who could declare war with a word was powerless to put on her own clothes. This wasn't about respect, it was about control. Every single aspect of a royal woman's mourning was designed to remind her that she owned nothing, not even her own body. Now, picture Queen Elizabeth getting ready for her day. The Virgin Queen, the most iconic monarch in English history. What most people don't know is that her daily beauty routine was literally killing her. She painted her face with white lead makeup, pure poison. Every day, she was slowly dying from the very substance that made her look queenly. Her teeth were black from sugar. Her hair was falling out from toxic cosmetics, and her skin was scarred from smallpox. But here's the most heartbreaking part. She did this because showing any sign of weakness, any human flaw, could trigger a revolution. Royal women weren't people. They were living symbols. Perfect, untouchable, inhuman symbols. Elizabeth spent 3 hours every morning having her face transformed into a mask. She couldn't sneeze in public. She couldn't cry. She couldn't show hunger, thirst, or fatigue. One moment of human weakness could end her reign. And if you think that's extreme, wait until you hear about their bathroom situation. Here's something that will shock you. Royal women couldn't use the toilet alone. Ever. A groom of the stool. Yes, that was a real job title, had to be present for every bathroom visit. This person was often one of the most trusted advisors in the kingdom because they had such intimate access to the queen. But it gets worse. When Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women whoever lived needed to use the bathroom. Multiple witnesses had to be present to ensure she wasn't meeting secret lovers or plotting against her husband. Imagine never having a moment of privacy, not even for the most basic human needs. These women lived under constant surveillance that would make modern security states look relaxed. Royal women's bodies belonged to their kingdoms, not to themselves. When a royal woman was pregnant, she couldn't be alone for 9 months. Witnesses had to confirm the baby was legitimate. During labor, dozens of nobles watched to ensure no baby switching occurred. Some queens gave birth in front of 200 people. Marie Antoinette had to give birth while courtiers literally crowded around her bed, fighting for the best view. But here's the most disturbing part. If a queen couldn't produce a male heir, she could be divorced, exiled, or executed. Anne Boleyn lost her head partly because she only gave birth to Elizabeth I, a girl. Royal women were bred like prize horses. Their menstrual cycles were tracked by court physicians. Their diets were controlled to optimize fertility. They couldn't choose who to marry, when to have children, or even how to raise them. Catherine of Aragon was married to Henry VIII for 24 years, but when she couldn't produce a male heir, she was discarded like yesterday's newspaper. Her entire worth as a human being was reduced to her reproductive capacity. Every single morning, royal women had to prove they were still alive through an elaborate food ritual. Royal food tasters would sample every morsel before it touched their lips, not just for poison, but because royal women were so valuable as political pawns that their enemies would rather see them dead than remarried to rival kingdoms. Eleanor of Aquitaine's daily routine included something that sounds like science fiction. She had body doubles. Multiple women who looked similar to her would walk through the castle at different times, wearing her clothes to confuse potential assassins. Some queens had up to 6 different meals prepared each day, and they never knew which one they'd actually eat until the last moment. The paranoia was so extreme that many royal women developed eating disorders from the constant fear of being poisoned. Here's something that will break your heart. Most royal women never experienced a genuine conversation. Every person who spoke to them wanted something. Every smile was calculated. Every friendship was political strategy. Imagine going years, decades, without a single person talking to you just because they enjoyed your company. Cleopatra, the most seductive woman in history, spent most of her days completely alone. She spoke 9 languages, but had no one to have a real conversation with. Catherine de' Medici, Queen of France, kept a diary where she wrote letters to her dead mother every day. Why? Because her mother was the only person she could remember who had loved her without wanting her throne. The isolation was so complete that many royal women went insane. They had everything money could buy, but they were emotionally starving in plain sight. Here's a secret that will blow your mind. Some of history's most famous royal women were commoners who were chosen, trained, and inserted into royal families as political tools. Entire networks existed to find young women who resembled dead or missing princesses. These women were given crash courses in languages, etiquette, and family history, then presented as lost royalty to serve political purposes. Some lived their entire lives not knowing their true origins. They died believing they were born to rule, when in reality they were elaborate political theater. There's evidence suggesting that several famous princesses of the 15th and 16th centuries were actually peasant girls who were so convincing in their roles that modern historians still debate their true identities. Imagine discovering that your entire life, your identity, your very sense of self, was a lie created by political masterminds. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. These women, despite being trapped in golden cages, started a quiet revolution that changed the world forever. They couldn't vote, but they influenced policy through whispered conversations. They couldn't own property, but they controlled vast networks of information. Royal women created the first international intelligence networks. They spoke multiple languages and maintained correspondence across continents. Eleanor of Aquitaine basically invented divorce law by leaving her first husband and marrying another king. Elizabeth I created modern espionage networks that rivaled anything we have today. Catherine the Great expanded her empire more than any male ruler of her era, all while pretending to be the submissive wife. These women took the roles designed to limit them and rewrote the rules entirely. They transformed their constraints into weapons. When they couldn't fight with swords, they fought with intelligence. When they couldn't command armies openly, they controlled them through their lovers and sons. The most powerful royal women in history weren't the ones who followed the rules. They were the ones who broke them so cleverly that no one realized what was happening until it was too late. The next time you see a crown in a museum or a portrait of a queen, remember this. You're not looking at a symbol of privilege. You're looking at evidence of survival. These women didn't rule despite being women. They ruled because they understood something their male counterparts missed. Real power isn't about force or fear. It's about influence, intelligence, and the ability to turn limitations into advantages. Their daily lives weren't fairy tales. They were masterclasses in strategy, survival, and strength. And their untold stories? They're the most inspiring leadership lessons you'll ever hear. Because the truth about royal women isn't just history. It's a blueprint for breaking barriers that still exists today.